are, or you can step through it. So let's talk about some of the fear blockers. And if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand, because we're going to have some interaction. There's going to be a point in time where you can ask about these doorways. So there are certain things that block us, that are fear, that are common doorways. So fear, that's something that can block us from going through a doorway. All right? Comfort zones, meaning, you're comfortable where you are. Like, listen, I've eaten at this restaurant for all these years. Ain't no need for me to go to this one. Comfort. Sometimes also people's opinions, what people think about us. That can sometimes be a fear that we don't want to go through a doorway because we're afraid of what someone else thinks. Sometimes we live your life through someone else's lens, and you want to be mindful about that. So that can be sometimes block where we want to go. So there's fear, there's comfort zones, there's definitely people's opinions, and also past hurts. Because there's been times where there might have been something someone said that has hurt us, and we're still healing from that. And that person may have even passed on, but now it's about what is it that's blocking us. So you've got to think about that and say, why is it that I'm not transitioning through this next phase? What is it that's causing me to hold on? So it's almost like myself. So when I was young, I've been going to church. So I've been going to church since I was 4 years old. My grandmother took me and everything. I mean, I'm this small, I'm this short. And my grandmother, she wouldn't hold my hand. I have to run behind her. Now, when you're 4 years old, everybody is super tall. And so she used to run, she would just walk. And I'm back here, doing the marathon, trying to catch up with her. And so so once you get to church, what kids do, they fight, I was fidgeting and fidgeting and everything. I would sing in the choir, and then what stood out to me when I was in church was the drums. Love the drums, because we had people out playing our piano, we had an organist, and we had our praise and worship team. But the drums, you can see the person moving their hands, you can see them hit the cymbal, you can see them, just doing this thing. So I would sit there and air drum, I just sit there and pretend I was him and all that. And so I did that for years. And one day, the drummer didn't show up. And so I was, and I just sat there, and I was kind of concerned. I was like, we got them singing, everybody's stomping their hands, the music is going high. We got our piano player, but no drums. And so I sat there. Now I could have just stayed in my seat, stayed, because I had not touched physical drums at all. I hadn't been on them at all or anything, but there was something in me. And I just said to myself, just go ahead and do it. So I stood up and walked around the church. That was a big church. Walked around the church, and no one was paying me any attention, because anytime I got on the drums, they just shoo me away. And so I was going towards the end. Now, you have an option of going towards, going to the other side of the church. So they're singing, and I just sat down and started playing, and everybody's neck snatched. Just snatched over there, like, what's this boy doing? And then they realized, like, oh, he got time. He got some time, he can play. And from then on, because I walked through that door, I became the church drummer. And from that, I also began to serve. I also opened it up for me to serve as the church administrator. And from there, not only that, I became an armor bearer, and that opened the door for me to become an ordained deacon. Come on in. So that was a blessing. And all of that happened because I walked through that doorway. All those things. And to this day, I still serve. I serve in a different church, but I serve as an ordained deacon. And so because I took a moment, took that pause, and I said, you know what? I can either let fear conquer me, or I can move forward past that. But someone said, and it's written, that I wasn't given that spirit of fear, sound mind, power, and love. And so you have to think about that. When it comes to fear, fear is just what some people say false evidence appearing real, what your mind thinks makes it up for you. And that can block you from making your next step, from meeting somebody that's going to help you to progress, from getting to your next level. So you want to think about that, like, what's that block? What's blocking me? Is it a past hurt? Have I let this go? Many times, even if it's a past hurt, you want to think about it. Because sometimes that person has passed on, but that hurt is still there. So you want to really say, okay, why am I not walking through this door? And if it's that past hurt, that's something you want to look at and say, how can I heal from that? Because once you have that healing helps you to walk through that door. Because healing's on the other side of that door. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So yeah, that's one of the things. And so as we're looking through that, I want to ask you, what's one thing when you're thinking about a new thing, a new opportunity, something that presents, what's something that potentially holds you all back? Change. So change holds you back. You want to say more? So change from what?
I mean, sometimes we're in situations where we become complacent, like we're okay with them, when we're given a new opportunity, and you're skeptical about going forward with it because it's different, so it's changed.
Right. So, right, and that's the thing, that change can be an issue. And one thing I